and they're about to tip off. We're tipping off, I guess. Man, the average
Oh,
height. Yeah. Ugh.
there's two of us on the episode today, but only one of us that's going to be engaged in what we're talking about. Patrick's alma mater made it into the tournament.
Not really my alma mater, but I work for them, and I've gotten the
It
other
feels
SL.
like it sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's because I'm really invested in, and they get a dunk on the first play of the game. We'll give it a man. Okay, anyways, yeah. What's up, Brian?
Hey,
What's up, Craig?
Patrick.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, I was thinking about it because as the sport of competitive fitness has evolved over the years, there's been these time periods during the year that like athletes who are attempting to qualify for whatever the competitions of the year are. They always say, like, "Oh, it's qualifier season."
Mhm.
Well, this is actually the qualifier season. The Open just ended,
Yep.
and
Which is
2
a
days
cool.
later, WFP starts their first stage of their competitive season with challenger qualifiers. And Patrick and Kate did a nice show on the kind of finishing out of the Open. Was that yesterday or two days ago? So if you guys want to get their takes on how 25-3 shook out, you guys can go back and check that one out. We're not going to focus too much on the Open, but we will mention it and kind of talk about how the Open is similar and how it's different from what's going on with WFP this week. But I had this thought in my mind when I was driving back from the gym this morning that I just wanted to open the show with. And it's really built upon something that's been like a truth for me for many, many years, which is, this is a difficult sport to be good at. It's a difficult sport to excel at, and it's definitely been historically a difficult sport to make a significant financial earning from. And at the baseline, what I've seen is this year, there's more earning opportunities for more athletes than ever before. That's like my overarching thing that I've come to look at. And not everyone did the Open. Not everyone will do World Fitness Project. Not everyone has a chance to do Rogue or World Try for Wadapalooza or Dubai or whatever else these opportunities are. But there were some athletes who earned some significant money through the Open this year. There will be athletes that have a chance to earn meaningful money at some of the qualifying events to the games this year. Although the games prize purse will look different, there's still significant money that's going to be won by athletes at the games. There's significant money that's won by all of the 30 athletes competing at the tour stops and in the finals for the WFP. And all those other off-season competitions still exist. So when I take a step back and think about like the bigger mission of what Patrick and I's careers have sort of been about, which is recognizing that there are athletes committing a lot in their life to try to have a chance to do something meaningful with the fitness that they're working on day in and day out. More of those athletes will be getting a piece of the total available pie this year in terms of money through competition, and also possibly because of that through sponsorship. We have no idea how this is going to play out on the sponsorship side of things. We know that historically, most of the big investors have been interested in the game season, and understandably and rightfully so, I would say. Like, that's the biggest stage, and that's where you can make the biggest imprint. One of the things the World Fitness Project has talked about in their few things that they've put out so far, and I would also just say, like, be patient with some of that. They can't, like, they've been working for a long time, and they can't do everything all at once. So just like, if you're confused or wanting other stuff, it will come. Like, it will come. But one of the things they've said is we're trying to bring the best athletes in the world to new markets. And what comes with new markets? It also comes with new potential partners or sponsors or whatever, and maybe some of those partners and sponsors, similarly to what we've seen with what Nike did with Adrian Moonvila, for example, they'll provide incentives through WFP events that might be different than CrossFit Games events, and subsequently it just means more earning opportunities for more athletes through potentially different revenue streams. And I think that is a very, very largely positive thing when you have more people that are investing a lot to be great at something with an opportunity to make money this year.
What we've seen through the game season, especially the last couple of years, is that they've actually, I wouldn't say lost sponsors, but some of the sponsors you would expect to be there are they're neither not there or they're there at a lesser level. I mean, we're used to. I mean, with the Reebok changed the game. I mean, if you look at the single, like Dave starting the games, that's obviously the single most important moment in the games. But I think second to that was Reebok, them getting a commitment from Reebok. So what you saw is you saw a prize purse. I think the first prize purse was maybe 20 grand, maybe less than that. Not the first one, but 2011, the year that Graham Holmberg won, I
Right.
think it was like 20,000. And then the next year when Reebok came on, it dramatically went up to $270,000. So you went from 20 grand when Rich Froning can't climb a rope to the next year when Rich figured out how to climb a rope and won $270,000.
Are you just trying to make Graham Holmberg feel bad? Like he's been clever?
Yeah, but what we haven't seen since then is like we went through the Noble period, and Noble, you saw those companies throwing a lot of money at the games, and they were the ones that gave the prize purse. I mean, the prize purse came from that. None of the open money came from that. I mean, as far as I know. But now, you're not seeing those games big. I mean, even last year, they didn't have a title sponsor, which is fine. You can, I mean, it saves your brand, but what you're seeing is like a title sponsorship makes you money. And maybe it's because they just couldn't find people or they just didn't want to, you know, they didn't want to see the changeover of every year having another a title sponsor or whatnot. But in any case, you had a lot of brands that are kind of just sitting back and waiting. And you have a lot of brands that are international. Someone here, I believe who it was, Craig, brought up Adidas. Um, they're signing a lot of fitness and CrossFit athletes. You're seeing brands like, and that's an international brand. I mean, they're more international than probably Nike is, especially when it comes to soccer, you know. And then you have, or football for those in Europe. And then you have brands like Red Bull. They're an international brand, that you're seeing them sign CrossFit athletes. And then, but conversely, what you're seeing CrossFit also is, I don't know if it's out of maybe because they're not getting the deals or the brands coming to them like they've done in past. But what I've noticed is, for the Open they had Valetes, relatively,
Felicis, yeah.
yeah. But they're trying to make their mark into the space. But I think what this is coming, kind of bringing this full circle on what you were talking about is like, it's more the World Fitness Project. I think right now they're leaning into it being more worldwide than what CrossFit was when it first started.
Well,
And
I mean, I just think that it's really easy to see what's happening and think of it as a this or that or a versus or a comparison thing. And sure, we're going to do a little bit of a comparison today. We're going to talk about what the Challenger qualifier is compared to what the CrossFit Open is compared to what the CrossFit semifinals will be. But at the end of the day, what they all are opportunities for athletes. And
mhm,
that's a good thing. So I
yeah,
just wanted to kind of open with that. I know there's a lot of questions. I know there's a lot of feelings involved and opinions and all this other stuff. There's layers of it that are complex and unknown, especially with the sort of sudden introduction from the WFP. They didn't even really introduce it themselves. It kind of just appeared of this
yeah.
affiliate or partnership or project thing or whatever they're doing. And there's people that are skeptical, and there's people that are curious, and there's people that are upset, and
Yes.
there's a big difference between those three things. And I think that for the most part, we just have to approach it from the standpoint, or that we approach anything like politics, right? There's 10% on either side that don't even worry about those.
Yeah.
You're not going to change their mind. They've made up their mind. They're doing their thing. If you get caught up in those 10%, or you are those 10%, I do your thing.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah.
But there's a
Um,
huge, huge group of people that want to look at what's happening rationally, realistically, ask some questions before jumping to conclusions. And for that group of people, that's why I would say, like, hey, let's look at this for what it is. It's another opportunity for athletes to earn money, get exposure, and compete. And if we do consider what Will Morad, as somebody who's been in the locker room for a decade plus with some of the best in the sport, that they've often spoken about having a season that builds upon itself. It's the first time we've really had that. These conversations about that are not only unique to the athletes, but event organizers and invested people in the media and coaches even have had a lot of thoughts, conversations, and even built out models for a season like this for years and years and years. And this is just the first time we're seeing it publicly. And I'm personally, I'm excited to see how it goes this year. And I'm not, I see these comments pop up like, this isn't going to last. Okay. Maybe it won't last. Maybe it will last.
Enjoy it.
Exactly. That's what we want to do.
It's so funny is, the people that listen to our podcast or any other podcast, they're brought to, a lot of them are, Get With The Program is a good example. Or even Sevon, it's all built around the sport. I know Sevon's a little bit different now. He has some community, community involved in there too. But he's a guy that everyone knows as him covering the CrossFit Games. So the people that are complaining about this are fans of the sport. So enjoy the sport. Enjoy the sport. I haven't talked to a single athlete this year that hasn't been excited about the prospects of competing more, given more opportunities. What this reminds me of is the 2019/2020 season. You ask any athlete, just about any athlete, they love the sanctional season, because it wasn't all dependent on you being healthy for one event, and if you weren't healthy, you're done. I just think it's, and that's what athletes like. They don't want to say, oh, it comes down to one weekend, and if you don't do that, then your whole year is done. Your money making opportunities are done.
Dude, and even from the games perspective this year, you have multiple opportunities. George Sterner put it out the other day. He's going to Mayhem Classic in a couple of weeks. He's planning to do the online semifinal, and he's tentatively also going to do Syndicate Crown. He's got 3 chances in a 7-week window to qualify for the CrossFit Games. And that's where he's chosen to. I don't think he's signed up for the World Fitness Project. I think that for him, that's probably a really good decision. One, give yourself the opportunities you want, see what happens, whatever. So anyway, the workouts for the Challenger Qualifier were announced last night. They had a premiere episode or preview episode that dropped on the Pulse episode 2 for World Fitness Project. Their first episode was one that explained the whole season for all the different divisions. It was an hour long, a lot of information in there. Obviously, it's a new YouTube channel, so if you missed that, you can go back and learn about that if you want to. I already saw there was some questions about other divisions. We can just address this off the bat. Does WFP have online age group qualifiers? Specifically, is there online qualifier for 50-plus age group? So for this year, or actually, let's say for this first tour stop, there's only a qualifier for basically aspiring pros. If you're a community athlete that wants to compete, which there's basically 3 opportunities. There's next generation, there's a masters, and there's teams of 4. Those are just open signups. For age group 50 plus, that is actually one of the age groups. It's 50 plus teams of 2. There's male and female teams. So there's no individual division, but it's open sign up. My understanding is that if you sign up for those divisions, next gen, teams, or masters, you get to compete in Indianapolis, and it also basically gets you access to watch the pro field. I don't think that there's like in Rogue, you had to buy a specific ticket for a seat. You were assigned to that seat. I think this is more like North Park, where you can just walk in the building and pick a seat. So if you're competing in the morning, pros are competing in the afternoon, you can do your competition in the morning. You can go watch some of the best in the world compete. That's how I understand it, at least. But yes, if you were 50-plus masters and you want to compete in Indianapolis, there's plenty of spots available. Barbell Spin made a post yesterday about that, showing the different divisions and the registrations. He was actually joking around last night about making a team and trying to sign up for the scaled division because there's only one team signed up right now. And he knows that if you finish in the top 3, you get some prize money and also an invite to the finals in Copenhagen. So if you're looking for a fun competition, in a location where you can also watch some of the best athletes in the world, especially if you live in the Midwest of the United States. I mean, it could be a really cool thing to do with some friends. It's also there's no prerequisites on who you do it with or where you live. You can just pick 4 people from any corners of the earth and go and do it. So
I'm trying to find it. So this is I'm trying to find I guess I just have to go to competition corner and just do a search for that. But
yeah, there's 2 different things. So you can sign up for the Challenger qualifier like Lynn did. And that's going to be very difficult, which we're going to get to here in a second. Or you can sign up for the community divisions and you're in. You sign up, you get your friends, you pay the fee. Boom, you got your spot.
1 second here. I will I'm interested to kind of see if they had any more. Sorry.
Don't think I didn't see that last night, Lynn.
That was, yeah.
Whatever you're doing there, Patrick, just tell me when we're moving on. What are we looking for? The qualifier sign up?
Yeah, I already have that. I'm looking at it's okay. Here we go. I found it.
Oh, the community sign up.
So, yeah, we kind of just go through it like real quick. I mean, yes, there are age divisions. There is time. They have elite team of 4, male, male, female. Actually, let's just go to the leaderboard.
And they've put out movement standards, like the things you should be able to do if you want to sign up for these divisions.
So yeah, like the elite team of 4, male, traditional team. This is, if you think about this, because the teams do not have an in-person qualifier at the semifinals this year for the games. So this isn't a bad idea.
I didn't even know that. They don't? Because I saw Syndicate Crown was advertising like teams that have qualified for their event.
They might have division. I mean, but it's not a qualifier into the games.
Got it.
They might still have that division.
That's
it would be smart for these competitions to throw a competition like that, because otherwise what they're doing is these teams are coming straight from the online semifinal straight.
I'd say it would be an opportunity for them to get a live competition under their belt, even though it's not a qualifier. Yeah, fair enough.
Exactly. But the WFP, I think it's very smart that they did something like this. I mean, you have the Army Warrior Fitness Team, CrossFit Grandview, Iron Kings, Maverick Mayhem. I mean, you have some teams, Warrior Fitness Team Black. I mean, yeah, I mean, this could be an opportunity for some of these teams to, get some practice in before the games.
We will. We'll add Patrick can put the link in the chat. We'll also make sure to add it to the show notes at the end.
Yeah. But the select team of a scale team, there's only one scale team. That was the one that Spin was talking about. Yeah. So see Masters 35-39. Oh, that's is that team? Yeah, those are doubles. So 2 men, they have duos. So
yeah, and I mean, look, I would expect that there'd be more information, more kind of promoting of signing up for this coming out. But in the meantime, it's wide open. And even what we're about to look at with the Challenger qualifiers, like there were some people that signed up really early on, but even since I made that post last night, there's been a dozen notable men who've added their names to the roster. I just actually saw a couple new ones even in the last hour.
This is a good team for the next gen 17 and 19 duo female. Abigail Moore and Delia Moises. They're 2 former teen athletes, but yeah, just it's pretty cool.
Not a great team name there. That just was a bunch of E's.
Yeah, I like that one. That was one. That was a good one. I like that. Can you imagine if that was like live and he had to announce that? That would be great. Yeah.
PC the MC.
It reminds me of the Key and Peele skit. When they announced their they do that Monday Night Football thing where they say their names and where they're from. But there was one guy that it was one character. He just said he just did a scream. Boise State. All right. So I answered the questions about the divisions. They're currently registration's still open for all of those. I will put that, like Brian said, I will put that in the chat, in the description. I'll put it in the chat right here as well.
Wait. Online qualifier is going on this week. is the age group online qualifier also this week. There's no age group online qualifier for WFP.
Yeah.
If you are talking about the age group online qualifier for the games, that is next week, or 2 weeks actually. I have it down as like spanning the weekend of April 5th and 6th, which is the same weekend as the Mayhem Classic. Jeff Birchfield. Good day, Brian and Patrick. I got a bone to pick with Jeff Birchfield.
Oh shit.
Your best effort in the Open is amazing and worth celebrating. And I always give Jeff kudos for things, but come on, man, don't put yourself down. You're doing it every day. You're putting in the hard work, and I want to celebrate that. Don't make it any less than it is.
Were there any other comments here? We'll get with Craig's answer here in a second. What do you want to talk about? Let's talk workouts, and then we can talk athletes.
Yeah, so they announced the workouts yesterday, as I mentioned. Episode 2 of On the Pulse was at 7:30 in the evening Central Time, which I don't think it was the best time to do it. I think it should have been a few hours earlier, so Europe could have been awake to watch it at least. But one thing that's notable about these online qualifiers is there are athletes from everywhere signing up for this, like countries that I don't know anything about competitive fitness in Africa, and specifically in Africa, they're signing up. And I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool. They announced the workouts on the Pulse, and then at 8:00 Central Time, they also dropped on Instagram. They were on Competition Corner. They were on their website. I think Barbell Spin was live at the time. They caught one or two little mistakes, but it looked like World Fitness Project cleaned up on those really quickly. Everything seems to be pretty straightforward. My only pick, which I don't know what that means, so the WSP team, is they don't have a static post, which I need. I did see a lot of people in the comments asking for the static posts or the static image of the graphic of the qualifiers. So I think that's a good piece of advice. Someone in the comments said you could just take a screenshot, which is definitely true, but we know how attention spans are for people. Sometimes they just want to see it right away. Thank you for the clarifications. Still confused about WFP season outside elite athletes.
Oh, well,
if you're in those divisions,
if you're not in an elite division and you're competing in a team, you just pay the registration, you show up to Indianapolis, you finish top 3, you win prize money, and you automatically get an invite, don't you, to Copenhagen for the final?
Correct.
You don't have to do the second one in Mesa. What they'll do is they'll grab the winners for Mesa. They'll also get an invite to Copenhagen. So whoever shows up in those divisions from those two U.S. competitions get an invite to Copenhagen, where they'll have another opportunity to win more prize money.
Correct.
So there's no qualifiers. Your qualifier is competing, is a live competition. So if your aim is to qualify for Copenhagen to make a trip before Christmas to Denmark, beautiful Denmark, then your qualifier is you sign up and you finish top 3.
There it is.
That's
all right. So let's look at the workouts. They had 3. Good. Patrick did better than me.
Yeah. Thanks.
3 workouts with 4 scoring opportunities. I've seen a lot of comments about the workouts already from different people. And I think that what I want to set the stage by saying before we talk about the workouts is on episode 1 of On the Pulse, Will Moorhead talked about, and he's the director of sport for this thing, by the way. He talked about who this qualifier is for. And he said, this is for people who are aspiring to be pros. Now, obviously, anyone could sign up for it. It's only $25 to compete. I could pay $25, get on the leaderboard just like I can in the Open and do the workout. But in reality, I'm not going to be competitive against this group of people to actually advance to the next round, which would be in Indianapolis. And the group of people that they're taking is pretty elite, meaning there's only 10 spots that get to compete against the pros, and there's 20 other spots that do get an invite to Indianapolis, but they're in a separate division. And we're going to go through the workouts first, and then we're going to look at the athletes. I posted an initial list of 50 notable men and women who had already signed up for this last night. And there's, like I said, several others that have been signing up in the hours since it's been announced. So the first workout here, 20-minute AMRAP, rowing, burpees over the rower. Nice thing about that is One spot's already taken, so everyone else competing for 9. Spin. And I guess I offended him. Anyway, and then burpees over the rower. The nice thing about the burpees over the rower, one thing that I would say is I noticed Will seemed to Will, and I would say the judging team, which he talked about also, tried to take away things that often cause complications with judging, specifically in online platforms. Burpee takeoff has been a problem since 2015. 2-foot takeoff, 1-foot takeoff, land with 1, jump with 2, this, that, all the different things. I think J.R. Howell did this on his qualifier last year. Just get over the rower. Don't touch it. Go over it, not around the back of it. Step, jump, whatever you want. Burpee over rower. So I thought was fine. If you were watching closely there, you'll see that on the shuttle runs, which is the third movement in this one, there's no 3-point touch. Get both feet past the line, get both feet past the line, and just keep doing that over and over again. Will talked about how, from a running perspective, he didn't like the constant bending down, like it's a totally different movement than running. And as a runner, he always thought it was weird. From a judging perspective, he thought it was more difficult. So this is a workout very similarly. You could say it's similar to most open workout week number 1s in that it's very accessible. Everyone can do it. At the same time, this is a devastating workout. Like the fitter you are, the worse this hurts, because you can't throttle off the row. You have to maintain the pace on the burpees and the running, and it's just going to keep going for 20 minutes. Will said that 6+ rounds is expected from the athletes who he's looking to potentially qualify, and that obviously in any competition you need to see the full breadth of workouts to assess the programming, but that he wanted this baseline aerobic fitness to be at a high level for athletes who ultimately make it to Indianapolis.
I like this. What Lynn brought up is about the 3-point stance, like touching a line. And I thought Will brought up a good point on that. I mean, the whole point of the other shuttle one, reason why it was invented was to so where you could test aerobic capacity, like without having to go outside. But can you really test your capacity if you're basically crouching down, slowing up to cross a line? So what Will did is like basically you don't have to touch, you just have to cross over the line. So that way you can still maintain a decent amount of speed, not have to blow out your back, have an uncommon, because the shuttle runs are a short distance. It's like 5-6 steps. So you're really not going that fast on the shuttle runs. That's why I really love like Rogue when they did their shuttle runs. They had them going around the whatchamacallit, the tackle dummies, pylons and tackle dummies. And I thought that was great. So I mean, I understand the need to put a line. It kind of goes back to the whole football days or whatever. But I do like that. I thought Will brought.
I mean, we even saw something like that in Dubai. They had those little sandbags. They go around the sandbag. It's like a very easy visual to see. So some, people have been making some different variations on judging standards. There's another one here. If you're doing these workouts, as always, and they actually took some time, WFP did to provide some kind of hints and tips from the judges at the end of on the Pulse episode. Read the scores thoroughly. This is if you're serious about this, the opportunity at the end of the season is immense to get that pro card. And don't let something like not reading the movement standards, not having a backup camera or a charged camera, or not having the clock in the view be the thing that prevents you from even getting started on the journey towards that.
Yeah, I think it's a good opening workout. Fairly simple. I do like the change of some of the standards. It's like I said, if you elect to step over, fine. I mean, if you can do that.
Well, this is what Will did compare it to a 5K run, which is exactly this. There is no place to rest. You have to find a cadence and a rhythm that you can maintain for 15 minutes and hopefully then increase towards the last 5 minutes if you want to do great on this. And knowing yourself is a huge, huge component of being an athlete. And another thing Will said is this workout is really not one that you, especially if you're very fit, that you want to do again. So have a plan, execute it well, and get ready to hurt on those last 8 minutes, basically.
Something and Brian, I want your thoughts on this. I think you'll probably agree with me, but for the signed athletes, they don't obviously have to register. But if I was a signed athlete, I would be doing these workouts because
I think some of them already advertised that they are.
Yeah, I think Noah's done. I mean, why not? And plus, you can see how you compare to some of these challengers. Remember, these people are coming for your spot. So you can see where you're at. You can see now you're getting an idea of who some of these athletes are. And you got some baseline information, some commonality outside of the game season, and immediately. Um, but also it introduces them to a new programmer, a
Yes.
new person. Kind of, you don't know. No one knows what Will's. I mean, every programmer has some type of like, some,
Bias,
they have bias,
leaning,
not bias. Yeah, something
tendency.
that they know. Yeah, tendency, exactly. Whether it be like JR or Boz or Dave or something like that, there is some predictability for it. You're coming into this with someone. I mean, I remember. I think Khan said it best. It was 2020. Khan signed up to do Mayhem programming because he was planning on. Remember when they were supposed to Mayhem in the desert?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He was announced for that. So what he
Peek
did
behind
when
the
he
curtain.
Yes. So what he did is a month out, he signed up for Mayhem programming. A month leading up, and his plan was to just do Mayhem program to kind of get idea because who knows, just kind of like the Open or the game. Sometimes they'll throw something in .com that's actually the workout. But we know what you're getting with Mayhem. We know what you're getting with like certain training camps and train certain athletes. We don't know what we're getting with Will. I have an idea. We talked about this last week. I think Will is well-rounded as an athlete. So what you're going to see is a lot of well-roundedness in his programming. But lately he's been a lot. He's been capacity and aerobic capacity based because that's how the athlete he's been. So
Lido,
and
this looks horrendous. Love that you don't have to bend down to touch each time, though. So that's the
Lito's
first
thing.
workout. That's the first workout. And let's look at the second one. Second one, very different. There's this is basically a monostructural weightlifting gymnastics variant workout. There's some double unders, I would say in a notable quantity. Increasing difficulty of pull up from pull up to chest bar to bar muscle up. We're pretty used to seeing that sort of evolution within qualifier style workouts. And there's also lunging variations that get increasingly difficult, which in the same way that they did a couple years ago in the quarterfinals, I think. So they have the farmer carry, front rack carry, and then overhead carry with the lunges. So this 15-minute time cap on this, Will had said 9 minutes might be like a really impressive score, and that someone's going to, always surprise you. And, the fastest time that anyone's ever done it is going to happen this week is what he said. And it's always going to be amazing to see who it is. We'll get to the athletes in a minute, and we'll see how that there's some serious beasts doing these workouts, or at least register to do them. But I mean, obviously, immediately out the gate, you can see how it fits in with the first one. It's very different.
Yeah, it really is. It's more, it's kind of like tire you out before the gymnastics piece. Have to lower that heart rate, seeing if you can hold on. I mean, Will said it himself. He tried to do this unbroken. He thinks that there will be maybe a couple challengers that might go unbroken on this. But then Derek, who, by the way, Derek did a great job hosting on the poll. So if you guys don't know or don't remember Derek, he was someone that came on the scene around 2021 with the games. But now it looks like he's a part of that WFP crew, and I'm getting more excited that I'm seeing like this WFP broadcasting crew. You've worked with Derek before, so I'd like to think I'm a good friend of him. But anyways, they alluded to that they think someone's going to go unbroken in this. But Will also said he's like, I would, you could do singles for on the ring muscle ups and probably still put up a really decent time.
Bar muscle ups. Grip was the other thing that they talked about on this one. And, the more is it at this point, like I can't even overstate it, but having a strong grip in competitive fitness is huge. It's way more valuable than most people understand, especially like the higher up the ranks that you climb. And it will be tested in this event. So two workouts announced, very different. And then we get to the third one, which ended up being a 2-parter. And there's, two other things that are basically being tested in this third one that are unique relative to the first two, which is getting inverted and barbell cycling. This looks horrible to me. If it's 5, Dude, it's 5 rounds of handstand walking and deadlifts. 315
Yeah.
pounds, 220 pounds is what it was listed as, not 200. And by the way, they were putting the meters first, which we'll talk about in a second.
Mhm.
And that's just like the first half. Both parts are scored equally. So you have 50 deadlifts at that weight, 500 feet, I think, of handstand walking, 2 minutes rest. And then you start to get into wall walk complexes before you have max cleans at 225, 155, I think, in remaining time. Dude, come on.
So some of the best athletes are going to have to do one of those rounds per minute. If you can't keep that round per minute pace or a minute 15 pace, you're going to get capped. So that's, I
Right?
mean, you're talking 10 deadlifts, and they're heavy deadlifts. Um, and
Maybe
that,
it's
I mean, yeah,
50
it doesn't
feet of
seem like a
handstand
lot,
walking. I think
10,
I misspoke. I think it's
but I mean
50 feet of
that's
handstand walking per round.
yes, 50 feet. Yeah. So it's down and back, right?
Yeah. And so, but yeah, I
Or
was
just
just thinking
down.
like
Yeah, it'd be down and back because you have to come
that's
back
too
to the bike.
much.
Yeah. Yeah, down, yeah, you have to go down and back. So I mean so I mean you're using the same 25 feet that you use for the lunges, and you use the same 25 feet that you used for the what do we do? Shoot, not the row. But the shuttle runs, which is actually pretty smart. Think about it. You know, you can lay down that tape or that mark down at your gym and then keep it up there for the whole weekend if you're doing or the course of the 6 7 days you're doing it. So
Yeah, I noticed
um,
that there were all three workouts, or at least part of the third workout, have a traversing of distance between a run,
mhm,
a lunge, and a handstand walk. And
mhm,
we saw some of these comments coming in here. Heavy deads, heavy barbell. There's no max test. I love that there's no max test here. Trust me, you
same.
have to be strong if you want to do well. And it's not, I mean, this is half of the scoring points are with the barbell. And it's a different kind of strength with the stability for the dumbbells. I don't think for the top athletes that's going to be the limiter on that event. So you definitely have to have gymnastics proficiency under fatigue, not just aerobic fatigue, but grip fatigue. We know that first test is a nasty aerobic test. Better you are, the worse it is. And you have barbell cycling, short time domain, uh, and strength all tested in these last two parts. So overall, I think if you're going to do 4 workouts in a week, you want to make it fairly accessible, uh, and also looking for people who are going to be actual legitimate contenders. That's the difference between this and the open. The open is qualifying, you know, about 1%. It's an elite group of people, but a big group to move to the next stage. This is meant to qualify a very small number of athletes into a very elite field of competition. So it has to be
Mhm.
heavy enough, high skilled enough, demanding aerobically enough. And I think that they did a pretty good job.
What do you think of them bringing back the wall walk complexes?
The one I mentioned, they had a few variants in terms of standards. So the wall walk complex, as I understand it here, there's no
Return
strict
hand.
requirement. No,
Yeah.
there's no strict
Oh
requirement.
yeah.
Also, because that was like, I think it was Laura at Rogue that people were like, "Hey, she's skipping those." It's such a
Yeah.
gray area, and Will basically said, "Forget the gray area." There's other standards of the wall facing handstand pushup. Like I don't think parts of your body can touch um
Mhm.
the wall, but like if you're trying, it's kind of like a strict ring muscle up, right? It's like it's so like there's no black and white for that. There's
Right.
never going to be. And so eliminating it here from the wall facing strict handstand pushup, I think especially in an online format was a good decision.
Yeah. I agree. And yeah, I would say if you are planning on competing in these qualifiers, that to look at the rule book, look at the scorecards. They have it written. They also have charts. They give suggestions on where to set up your camera and how to set. Very similar to what we saw at the Rogue Invitational back in 2020, where they kind of had and the games did it a couple years ago, where they had like this is the setup. They gave you basically a roadmap on how to do things.
Yeah, it's I mean
So take a look at those,
it
study
does
those.
feel to me like in some of these cases, whether it's things that were included, like you just mentioned, or things that were modified, like we talked about the standards, that they've looked at how things have been in the past. What's been successful? Let's borrow from that. What's been a problem? How can we modify that and hopefully get ahead of it? So, I think that there's a lot of positives to take away from this. There's certainly rooms to be critical. There's still the execution of the review process and the judging and all those other things that we have to wait to see what they do. But straight out of the gate, I think there's a lot of positive things here.
Sarah Cooper, we kind of talked about this. The pros should have to do these too. I imagine most of them will, and you probably won't see their times because they will see how they stack up against the challengers whose times they will know, and they'll have a better idea. But if I'm a pro, like we talked about before, I would try to do all these because, I mean,
you know what else could happen is that you might have these situations, like for example, Noah, he's down in Miami. Annika's
yeah, just trying to help her
if
out.
I'm Noah, I'm gonna Annika's my friend, my training partner, whatever. I'm gonna do these workouts not just to show her kind of what a good or bad time is. Maybe he's doing it to try something, and he'll say like, "Yes, that was actually perfect," or he'll say like, "No, I thought that would work out. It didn't work out. I wouldn't recommend doing that." Or he might know her well enough to say, "Didn't work for me, but because you are really good at X, it might still be practical for you." Like, I bet you that there's a lot of versions. I mean, look, Caden Hogan's in the qualifier. He basically did the open with Travis Mayer. Travis could be doing the same thing for him, and you could copy paste this to a lot of different qualifiers or potential qualifiers around the world.
Yep. I mean, you know that's what they're doing in Krieger. I mean, they're probably doing heats. Heats up there.
Probably
I mean,
Kristen. Maybe I would guess that Kristen's doing them, and then telling everyone what happened.
Yeah, I mean,
she probably did them all last night.
Yeah, she probably did them all last night. There's probably a video that's going to be up on YouTube. And what she's going to do is sit back there and is like, okay, you guys try to beat my time. And, just like winner goes the spoil. So, you're going to see Andrea Koberg and Leah Storn and Saher and all the, Tola, Matilda. You're going to see all of them put up. I mean, those are the names that I'm going to be watching on some of these workouts. And we'll talk about some of that now. Now we're done talking about the workouts. Overall opinion on the 3 workouts that have been announced.
I think it works. I mean, for the reasons I said earlier, I think you're testing strength well enough. I think you're testing different time domains. I think the gymnastics and grip fatigue is going to be a real thing in the second workout. I do think that having a baseline of fitness, cardio fitness is good. And, so I would say what I've seen so far, I think that this has this qualifier or slate of qualifier workouts is likely going to do a pretty good job of selecting 30 athletes to be in Indianapolis, 10 of whom will get a chance to compete against the pros. And by the way, I don't think that should have to do these. One thing that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is they're like, oh, why these guys get signed? Like, well, look, come on. Let's look at the careers of the athletes that have got signed. And it's very difficult. Maybe there's like 1 to 3 men and 1 to 3 women that you could make an argument that they haven't already earned that opportunity through the things that they've achieved in this sport. And Will said it last week. He's like, I had to start somewhere. We had to start somewhere. But as soon as competition starts, the slate is clean and those athletes have to earn it.
Those athletes already have a target on their back. There.
Spin, I saw you guys, Patrick, you just cut out for a second. Spin, I saw you guys talk about this last night. I, like you, assumed that they were the same, but I don't know for sure yet. So TBD.
I heard that was a yes, but
I feel like they would be.
Will saying that.
Yeah.
Because they have to be the workout. They have to be the same workouts because the challenger gets points. So if they had different workouts, the points wouldn't matter.
Oh, whose line is it anyway? Isn't that the line from Whose Line Is It Anyway? Where everything's made up and the points don't.
Yeah. No. I mean, like I said, I've heard Will say 100% that it has been, that it will be, but yeah, it makes the most sense. Let's see yeah, overall, I liked it. I think it's I forgot who it was. It might have been Craig. Yeah. These WFP workouts favor hybrid athletes.
Yeah, what does that mean? What does
yeah.
hybrid athlete mean to you?
Well, I think he's looking at maybe when you think hybrid, I think he's talking about like maybe that type of athlete that is that could. I mean, I guess like Ricky. Ricky could consider a hybrid where he can go off and do a high rocks, or he can do a 5K or something like that. It's just not necessarily the best CrossFitter. It's the best person that can just do multiple disciplines within. I mean, hell, Tia's a hybrid athlete now. Um, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if like Jeffrey said, high rocks athletes, like okay, Tia, well, fine. If you're saying okay, Tia would do well in these workouts, that's not like that's not. But the partner that she had that set the world record on high rocks would not do well on these workouts. She would do amazing at the first workout and get absolutely massacred by the rest of them. So I don't know what that means by hybrid athlete. If it means this is a well-rounded test, that's great. If it means that you think someone from High Rocks would do well in it, I don't know. I don't know about that.
No, I think a CrossFitter that crosses over the high rocks is a hybrid athlete, not a high rocks or that cross over the CrossFitter. I mean, the closest person I think from high rocks that would do well in these workouts would be someone like Hunter would probably do pretty decent in these workouts. But
Yeah,
I'm
but
thinking,
Hunter has trained for other things besides High Rocks, including
yeah,
CrossFit.
exactly. Yeah, but
So
he's like the true epitome in my mind of a hybrid athlete. Like if you want to use that term hybrid, Hunter, whether you like him or not, he's probably
I would
the
say, I mean, I would say Tia is a better example than him at this point. Not only
yeah,
is
at this
she,
point, yes. At this
yeah,
point, yes.
but on the male side, yeah, probably him for now.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe James Newberry. He's a fascinating guy.
Who knows? Maybe James Sprague.
Maybe could be James Sprague.
Yeah.
A couple of questions here. Barbell spin. It would suck to be in Challenger division and beat people in the pro and get less points at the end of the weekend. I did see you guys talk about that last night as well. I resonated with your thoughts and opinions on that. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that I've given it as full thought since I heard you mention it last night. But what I think about is that if I'm the judging team for the WFP or the review team or whatever it is for these qualifier workouts, you have to understand how critical the difference between 10th and 11th is. So that if there's a person in 10th and there's a person in 11th, and let's just say it's me and Patrick, and I'm this guy that's just or let me say Patrick. Patrick does great on workouts 2, 3, 4, and he has a 60th place. He's got like a 2nd, 8th, 10th, 60th on the first workout. You better be damn sure that those other 59 people beat him if he's keeping me out by one spot, because there's the potential that I go to Indy and do what Brian is suggesting here and have a better competition than him at the expense of not earning the money, not getting more points, ultimately chasing down that pro card. So yeah, I would say there's a high premium on the cut between 10 and 11. And I'm hopeful that World Fitness Project is aware of that and have a plan to ensure that they get the athletes they want into that top 10.
Well, I also think the reason why they're also doing that is also to,
and if that is the case, then this is what T-Bird said is obviously the answer that you would give,
yeah.
You got to get, you have to, that's just the nature of where we're at with this thing right now. Like there's got to be a qualifying process. Sometimes it's online. We know that the online is not optimal, but I don't know what the other solution is.
Well, I kind of like what Will alluded to. The reason why they also have the challengers is also because there might be something that comes up with an athlete, whether it be travel or an injury or something like that. So what that does is it basically has the next man up, and they basically stay prepared and gives them something to train for.
Then that means the online portion is more important than the in-person. Yeah. It has the potential to be, but there's also the opportunity for, let's say I'm great on online qualifiers. I get into the top 10. I get there and just get my ass handed to me because I'm not that good online. Yeah, I leave with $1,500, but I'm not, I guess I still get 20 points more than the person online, but in the challenger. Yeah, it's fair point for sure. And what did ironically Fitz said? First year may have some kinks. Wanted to answer this one. Lido, how easy do you think it'll be for a challenger to break through to the pros, considering they have to qualify and travel to all 3 events while the signed athletes are guaranteed all 3 events? Definitely challenging. Again, I just would like, this is where I think the conversation we had at the start of the season really becomes, or this episode really becomes relevant, is like, if you're serious about trying to get the pro card, then just like George Sterner made the decision that he's going to go for the games, at least that's what it looks like, I think you should make that decision. I think that
Yeah.
because the odds are stacked against the challengers relative to the signed or pro athletes, that if I was, and I'm not, I don't say like, if I was good enough to do that, and that was something that was appealing to me, I would make that a priority. And so much so that I would talk to my sponsors about it, try to find ways to mitigate those costs, alleviate some of that stress, and put myself in the best possible position to do that. I think that this year there's a lot of athletes that are not really sure of what the best case scenario is. They don't maybe know what the WFP in 2026 is going to look like. So it's a little bit of a risky proposition. And that's why you see a lot making both, decisions to kind of do both. So I think while there's a ton of earning opportunity for athletes this year, I think it's also a little bit confusing. And some people have asked me, athletes have asked me, do you think I should do this? And I said, well, the good thing about the WFP qualifiers is you don't have to sign up before the workouts are announced. So you can look at what the workouts are, assess how you feel at this point in your training or after the open or whatever else you have going on, and make that decision with your team. And we're about to get to some of the athletes that I mentioned last night and that have also signed up today. And I wouldn't be surprised if some people have done that. And they're like, oh, these actually look like either workouts that are good for me or that I have a chance in, or I want to throw my name in the ring because I'm not sure what this thing is. But what's the worst thing that happens for an athlete like that? They do 4 tough workouts this week and get a little fitter because of it.
Yeah. Good question, Lito. Kind of halftime score. It is 52 to 24. Not SIUE. So, but anyways, we were winning 2-0 for the game. And, so update. So let's talk about the athletes. Brian, earlier today, much to the chagrin of some people, specifically someone that's in the chat right now, you released kind of your top 50 athletes you're looking at.
I put this out basically last night in the States, around, I don't know, 8 o'clock or 8:30 Central Time, which was just after they were announced. And what is this? This is
I don't know why that popped up. Hold on, sorry.
That's the open leaderboard, in case you're wondering.
Keep talking.
And these are just 50 names that I pulled from the qualifier list that I thought were notable names that had a chance to get into one of those top 30 spots at that point. There have been, as I've mentioned a couple of times now, some serious contenders that have signed up since then. But they were some. Go ahead. What? And they were somewhat in order.
Can you talk about those serious contenders?
Yeah. And they were somewhat in order. Patrick's going to find it on Instagram. He'll pull it up here. But on the men's side, I had put Anyola Kai and Colton Mertens in the top 2 spots, and I accidentally had inverted their flags, which got a little bit of attention in the comments there. But I do think that those are the 2 front runners to win this qualifier. And I don't think there's actually any prize money for winning it or anything like that. But obviously, I think both of those guys, probably more so Anyola than Colton, could have made a case about getting a pro card or being in a position to get a pro card. I think that's the women. Apologies, it's so small, but 50 people on a thing. I just wanted to throw it up there. The men are on the page too. So Anyola and Colton, Fabian Benito, Chris Ibarra, Callum Clements, Jack Farlow, Enrico Zanoni. Those top 7 that I have there all have made the CrossFit Games before. Nick Matthews on this list. Tola's on this list. So I saw some people in the comments asking about that. Caden Hogan, who we mentioned. Ty Jenkins, former Teenage Games athlete. He actually put a comment on here right there, ready to rock and roll for this weekend. Kaique Cerveni out of Brazil, who's made the games. It's a stout list. And let me just throw some of these names out, Patrick, for you that have signed up since I put this list out. Benoit Boulanger, Tudor Magda, Drake Lewis, 2 guys from Spain, Luis Cuellar, who was top 10 at Dubai this year, and Carlos Ferreira, who had a pretty good open and is generally he was struggling on the first workout here, I think, but he'll do well on the other ones. Another guy from Spain, Gabby Castro, Ryan Drew, kind of coming guy in the U.S., Brandon Shipper, who had a decent open, Selvan Ramjatan, and Johnny Charles. So those are names that I would have considered for this list that had signed up after the fact. But the big ones from that, I would say, are Benoit, Tudor, Drake, and Luis Cuellar. Like those four guys, I
Yeah.
think actually
Well,
all do immediately insert themselves into the conversation for not just a top 30 spot, but a top 10 spot.
yeah, I'm saying top 20 at a minimum. I mean, I still think like you have Tola a little bit too low on this one. I think you should be higher. But
Dude,
it's
you might. I
just
mean, Tola. It looks like Tola could be that athlete that I was describing earlier, who has top 10 finishes on the last three events, and it's all going to come down to how big of a hit he takes on that first one.
yeah, and I think he'll be fine in that first one. I mean, he's not he obviously has the power on that rower. I mean, it's some people would say that's kind of out of his time domain, 20 minutes. But I mean, it's just I think he's the type of athlete where he does a lot of zone two. So if he can find that heart rate where he can just kind of get in there and just study down and just stay at basically a zone two pace, I think he'll be fine.
No, and I
But
mean,
yeah,
I think he's just like genetically, he's just similar to Guy. They actually both like doing that kind of work. But
hmm
I think that they're the opposite of me. Like I could work on my strength all the time, and I'm never going to be as strong as them.
yeah,
And in a big, there's actually a significantly higher number of men that are signed up for this competition than women, which
mhm,
means that if you have a significant weakness in one of these four events, it's more likely to preclude you from advancing in the division you want to advance in
yeah,
than on the women's side. So to me, I would say that as even though Tola has the potential to like have maybe top 5 finishes on the other three events, that's
mhm.
the one that he really needs to lock in for.
Yeah, and then you look at someone like Tudor. I mean, I see Tudor as being that second workout, especially that part. I mean, I'm sorry, the 3A. That 3A, if Tudor doesn't win that workout, I'm talking deadlifts and handstand walks.
Yep.
I, I mean, I would love to see the guy. I mean, whoever beats him in that workout, bravo, bravo, because those are obviously two. When you think of Tudor Magna, those are the movements. Um,
Yeah, the
so
only thing that could be better really is a snatch.
exactly, exactly. But this is a guy who yeah. So I mean that's if you're looking. I mean that's kind of what we're doing here. It's kind of like I'll see Annual do really good in event one, the first workout. Colton's, I mean,
I think actually Chris Ibarra, looking at these now, like
mhm,
he could win this too.
yeah, yeah. But I look at someone like Colton and what he just did in the Open, especially that last workout when people are like, okay, he's going to have a mid workout, he's going to be like 50th or whatever, and he puts in the third best time. Obviously the wall complex, he'll probably be one. He might win that freaking second part of that workout. Um, it's crazy. And then we talked about Fabian. Me and you talked about him personally. I mean, Fabian is so good in online qualifiers, and if he's healthy, he's another guy that could win this that come out of nowhere. And a lot of people they haven't seen Fabian and true Fabian. We saw him at peak Fabian at Dubai when he won Dubai, and that was against Brent Fikowski, Lazar. I mean, that field was stacked with
Moritz.
Gates,
Yeah.
Moritz, and he beat them all. But yeah, I like Chris. Callum is a guy who I think is on the come up. Obviously, I just, I think him and Annual are actually training partners now because I think Annual came over to Fraser, who also trains Amy Kringle as well. And I think
hmm
that's Callum's coach as well.
Yeah, and
Um,
actually Fraser is in town with Anil this weekend and or this week for this, and that's the level of commitment that I think that you kind of need to have. Like this is, I don't care if you just won the Open, Colton Mertens. I don't care if you think you're one of the top 10 guys in the world on Yola Kai. Like you have to show up this week and do well on these workouts because there's a hungry guys on this list that believe that they have a legitimate chance to take this down or to get at one of those top 10 or top 30 spots. So no guarantees here. Super competitive field. Someone in the comments said this is a watchable competition just as it is. I think it was Alex Tibbetts or someone like that, and I couldn't agree more.
yeah, I mean, it'd be cool if I don't know if the WFP is doing that, but if like they pick like certain athletes and they sent the Buttery Bros out there to kind of film something and throw something. I mean, who knows? They might be doing that, but I mean that would be cool. I mean, especially this level of qualifiers and these events are pretty. Especially those last two events, those would be fun to watch. To stream. That would be cool if you had some of these qualifiers and they just live streamed them like Facebook live streamed them on or Instagram live streamed them. That would be kind of cool too. I mean, shoot,
Do
that'd
you
be really
think I mean, Colton was so impressive. One of the most impressive opens we've ever seen from any person. Do you think he can back it up and win this too?
I don't want to. I mean, it's so easy for me to go like, no, I don't think so. But I can't do it with Colton now because I'm afraid that he'll just he'll every person that hates on him is just like even he's holding receipts, man. He's holding receipts. But I mean, I don't I it'd be what a statement would that be? He wins the Open, but I mean, I think he already has the receipts here because he didn't get a invite, and he said that. Him and athletes like Gracie Walton has been public with it. They've said like, man, I feel slighted they didn't even call me, and Colton, Colton's the best at doing that. He's like Michael Jordan, where he's like, you say hi to him, and he's thinking, is that man, the way he said hi to me, he basically told me to f off. So, yeah, I mean, but how impressive would that be if Colton did win this? I mean, what a statement. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Lido put it right. They're not bad workouts for him, other than the first one, but still. And if you think about it, like the first one it's going to have over 100 burpees in it for the best guys in the world. He's one of the best in the world at that movement.
Mhm.
A lot of people thought that the rowing factored heavily into the final open workout. He placed second in the world on that. So let's see how far his shuttle running has come. I guess is like a different question that we didn't get to see an answer to in the open this year. So, but yeah,
Yes.
he looks incredible. He's clearly got the motivation that's needed wherever he's pulling that from. I think he's got as good a chance as anyone. I don't know why. Uh, as I'm thinking about it now, I really like Chris on this. I think he may end up winning it. So
Well,
let's
that's a
see.
good one. That's I like. I mean, I can't hate on that pick.
If I'll do this. This is kind of fun. If I was going to right now with what I've seen on the leaderboard, pick 10 athletes to make the top 10, I would take the top 6 on this list. I would take Aniol, Colton, Fabian, assuming he's healthy, Chris, Callum, and Jack. I would take Max Krieg, Benoit Boulanger, Luis Cuellar, and Drake Lewis. Those would be the 10
Mhm.
I would pick right now.
Oh, nothing. Not taking Ty Jenkins.
I know, dude. It's brutal. There's a ton of guys' names that I'm leaving off that list that obviously have a significant chance to do it. But cold picks. There it is.
I like Ty. I think Ty makes that top 10, especially after I saw at Wadapalooza. I don't think you had much chance to see him at Wadapalooza, but from what I saw at Wadapalooza, he won that RX division, and we both of us know what that means if you win the RX division at Wadapalooza.
Good
It's
things coming.
yeah, it's arguably harder than the individual competition because it's over 3 days, and you're doing more workouts. So
Another guy I feel bad leaving off that list is Luke De Jong. I actually think he might win the first workout, but I don't know, just the all the back stuff that he's had with the 50 deadlifts, the handstand walking, the wall walk complex, the cleans, like that 2-parter just still makes me a little nervous for him. But if he's 100%, he's going to be in the mix too.
okay, my other one that's not on your list besides Brian Spin. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I do like Bruno. I think Bruno will do really well in that first workout. And I also like Tristan Harrison. But I'm
Yeah, we
on.
didn't talk about Tristan Harrison. He looked real good at the West semifinals last year.
Yes,
He's kind of a sneaky one, so I'm glad you mentioned him.
yeah. But I do like that Max pick. Obviously, I'm a big Max fan. I think that he's going to do really good in that first workout. I think he'll do really good in the second workout. He should he should be fine with the deadlifts. I'm not sure about the handstand walking. He's fairly decent. And then I'm not sure about the complex, the wall walk complex. So, but yeah, yeah. I
To
mean,
find a rower.
huh?
Spin's got to find a C2 rower. He's a rogue rower guy now.
He only has the Zabbix.
This is an interesting one. How many do you think will compete if they aren't top 10? So I think what Patrick mentioned earlier is worth noting. Will made it very clear in episode 1 of On the Pulse that they will backfill up to the last day. So if you're 11, 12, 13, that means if a pro drops out for injury, illness, or any other reason, or if one of the 10 qualifiers ahead of you turns down an invite, can't make the trip, or any of those other things happen, that it could be Thursday and you could get the call and say, hey, you're bumped up into the pro division. So I would say if you're like 3 spots out, even if you have to travel for it, it might be worth the risk. But anything beyond that, I will be very curious to see if international athletes who finish, 12th through 30th end up making the trip for this. And I think that could end up being quite a few backfills that go to just guys in the U.S. basically.
And also take this under consideration. Yes, it costs money to travel. Like you do this event, you have to go to Mesa, and you don't make it to. You're still
Indianapolis.
in Indianapolis. That's what I said in this one. That's what I meant by this one, because this, and then the second one is Mesa, and you're still in the challenger bracket. But if someone in the 10 challengers that are in the actual bracket, one of them doesn't make the travel, you get bumped up,
Right.
and you get those points that they just, if someone doesn't show up from the top 10 from Indianapolis, you have a chance to move up and also gain more points. So it's actually good for you to do both events because you get more points. Because there'll be athletes that only do Indianapolis and you might not see them at Mesa. And there might be even athletes in the top 30 that do the same thing. Even the pros who are required to do so, there might be an injury, there might be something that happens, so you get backfilled. But every event you compete in, you get points. Spin brought up a good thing. You can finish last in the pro, but then finish first in the challenger, and you're still going to have less points than that person that finished last. But that person that finished last doesn't compete in Mesa, and you do. Guess what? You jump that person.
Right.
So
let's look at the women.
yeah.
Again, put this out last night, right after the qualifier workouts were released. And we just like on the men's side, there's been some notable names that have signed up. So I'll mention those now, and then we'll talk about it from there. Madison McElhaney, Ava George, Emily Rethwill, Miley Wade, and Hannah Black signed up sometime while we've been on the air. I saw there's, I would say, at least Emily and Hannah immediately kind of pop off the page. I think Emily had a pretty good open, and I think Hannah can do well on at least 3 of these events. So, but I still actually am going to defer. I think the top 10 that I have on this list are the top 10 that I'm going to pick to qualify at this point.
So Matilda, Shelby, Fee, Norche, Jennifer, Trista, Annika, Kyra, Carolyn, Andrea.
Yeah.
Down the list. You have Ella on there. I mean, that top 25.
I know, dude.
I mean, actually, if you go to top 30, those are all. I mean, you have Emily DeRoy at 30, and a year
Dude, and those top 30 don't include Hannah, Emily, Ava George. Like this is it's a pretty stacked field of women.
It's ridiculous. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's and like I said there's not as many women that have signed up as men in total, but you could easily make the argument that this is a deeper field through 30 or 40 athletes.
Yeah, easily.
There's a lot of high achieving athletes, meaning they've had significant career accomplishments, even going down, like Patrick is saying, 30, 35 spots on this list.
Yeah, I'm stopping. I mean, yeah, you're even at 36, Lindsay Lane, Amanda Fisher at 37, Riley Beebe, who, is coming off a really good open at 30. I mean, Grace Lochner finished top 100, it's her best open ever, at 40th. And she's, it's ridiculous, man. That is crazy.
And I still think that there's going to be more competitive names that will add themselves to this list.
100%. 100%
as we go. So,
yeah. But gosh, just like I look at these athletes, and just again, I look at someone. I totally agree with Matilda being one, because I think she didn't do the open. So
it's a variable that's going to be I think a topic of conversation. It may be annoying for some people, but I think it's super relevant when you're actually assessing the potential for these athletes. We don't with all the opportunities that there are this year. A lot of the athletes are taking a lot of opportunities. I mean, they're competing a ton, and that's got to have an effect on people eventually. When and how and where, TBD. But when you do see athletes like Matilda Garnis that has made the decision to specifically try for this, I do think that that's not just a minor. I think that's a significant advantage that she has over a very competitive field.
Yeah, which means a lot for Matilda not to do competitions. That's saying a lot, because Matilda loves competing. But if you had to put Matilda and Fee side by side, Fee coming off a great open, finishing second, especially in an open where, I mean, it was stacked, and who's the fresher athlete. I mean, there's a lot of argument that could say like, oh well, the open workouts, they're just workouts. You can just program them into your training. But it just seemed like this year was more intense. A lot more people took the open seriously this year more than in past years. And
You said a lot more people took the open. What?
Seriously, more serious.
Yeah, and like someone mentioned it at some point. There were athletes that didn't do the open this year. I actually liked. I think it was Enrico Zanoni maybe that put up a post. It was like I had my best open finish ever this year. Listed out his placements. He said, "I know there were a lot of guys that didn't do it, but I still could. I could. I'm so proud of my achievements, and I think that's exactly the perspective that athletes should have."
Oh, 100%. Especially like on the women's side, you just everyone knows that Tia wasn't not even trying, but she wasn't Tia. So it's just like you can only compete against people that sign up. At the end of the day, it's just like the games. The games like from the men's side, James, he's still the fittest man on earth. Even if Adler, I mean, you just can't discount it. You can only play or compete in what's presented against the athletes there. God, I do like these workouts for Matilda. She's when it comes to machines, she's amazing. She'll do really good. I mean, I think that third workout won't. She's not going to struggle, but she won't. She might. I don't know if she'll have one of the top times, but she should be manageable. The deadlifts are fine. She's actually really decent at handstand walking, especially for a taller, longer athlete. I have some questions about the complex for her. But of course, like you said, it's not strict. So we'll see. She should do really well in the second workout, especially when it comes to the muscle ups. She's one of those athletes who, on paper, I'm like, and probably she might be one of those athletes that go unbroken.
Yeah, pretty strong overhead with stability on the dumbbells too. So
and double unders are nothing. Yeah. So Shelby Neal, she's just all around. I think she's solid. She may not win a single workout, but she'll probably have all top 5 finishes. And then Fee's kind of the same way. That's what she did in the Open, had all top 10 finishes. One of only 2 athletes have top 10 finishes. Norche, oh God, she just looks so impressive at Pixel. And I think that, it definitely made a believer out of you. I think a full year of no shortcuts has really paid dividends. I do like these workouts for her. Jennifer Muir is going to do awesome in that first workout as well. Trissa's one of those athletes. I mean, I don't know if that weight's too heavy for her. I think she'll be fine. Her and Annika. It's funny that you have them both, kind of like right there by each other, because I can definitely see them finishing like that one too. Because I think Annika and Trissa have very similar traits in their skills. I know at one point we talked about that being like a reps ahead matchup at some point that we wanted to have. And then, Cairo's going to do really good in that last workout as well. Prevo might have some struggles in that first workout, or no, the second workout. Starting off with those 150 double unders, she might be in a hole already.
That's true. That's a good call. But
but like I said, she has 3 other scored events. She'll be fine. I think Andrea. I really like Andrea. She might win that second, the first part of the third workout, deadlifts and handstand walk. I think in this field you have some great handstand. I mean, it's not much distance, but she's one of those athletes who might just not even.
She can make it even on a short distance. She can make up some time.
Yeah, and she might not even drop down at all. If she does,
it might some pirouettes.
Yeah, or pirouettes, or maybe a quick rebound, like we've seen. Like, I mean, Andrea was the first athletes that seen do that rebound, and then Leah Storin after that. I am very intrigued by Jessie Smith, and then you brought up Emily Rethwell. I kind of like put them kind of in that same category. I think Lydia Fish is really going to surprise some people. You can't discount her on something like that. She's probably one of the smallest athletes in this field. Lexi Neely will do really good in that handstand walk deadlift. I mean, it's just, and like I said, we're getting into the 20 range. We could talk about every single athlete here, but it's just
dude, Taylor Howe's down there.
Ella Wilkinson, Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
They both, and Taylor's had a lot of good qualifiers over the years. Syria Mayha obviously made some moves last year. There's a lot of good women. I did, by the way, this was interesting. In the top right there, where it says Chiara Napoli, so it showed up as Chiara Napoli on the registration, and then it changed to Chiara Miller, and also her games profile changed to Chiara Miller. So you won't
all
see
right.
Chiara Napoli on that leaderboard. You'll see Chiara Miller, but it's the same person. And that change happened within like an hour of me posting this. So but yeah, that's a little preview. We saw the workouts yesterday. This is this list you're looking at was people who were registered at that time last night. We know that there's other ones. There'll probably be some other athletes who sign up. Ironically fit. What is next for the channel, and what are your plans? Y'all remember to hit the like button. I mean, over the next week or two, there's going to be presumably finalizations to the CrossFit Games Open. I think that probably the most significant thing there would be to see if there's any athletes that didn't make the top 1% and how that changes things for them. I bet you that there's athletes that are nervous about that are signing up for this now, looking at that, or maybe making some alternate plans. And then obviously these qualifiers will come to an end. And at that point we'll have, well, we don't know how long the review process will take. I've talked about it in the past with the quarterfinals relative to live semifinals, that like that window of time that you give athletes to prepare, to book their travel, make arrangements, whatever they need to do is significant. It's not a massive qualifier. I mean, even with the number of athletes that will be registered, it won't be as big as any of the quarterfinals, not even close, have been. But it takes time to review the videos and make sure to get it right. So I would expect a week, no more than 2, that they'd have everything done, dusted, and communicated to these athletes. And then we'll have obviously some stuff to talk about. There's not a ton of really notable competitions coming up. There's a Pensacola Beach Brawl, the winter version, Sweden Throwdown, Crash Crescendo, and Athens Throwdown over the next couple of weeks. Athens Throwdown being the same week as Mayhem Classic. That's obviously a really impressive lineup. So those are the types of things we'll be doing, paying attention to.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely do another show probably next Wednesday when that leaderboard close, or next Thursday when that leaderboard closes. And I think me and Kate will probably maybe plan to do something about the finalization of the leaderboard, and maybe preview Mayhem, because Mayhem's right around the corner. It's the first weekend in April, I believe. So we might do a little preview of that. But yeah, so I think for the channel, it'd be cool that we plan on maybe having 2 shows a week. A WFP and then a CrossFit show, or or a new show or whatever. So
Yeah, maybe a catch-all as some of those other things are going on. Still kind of
yeah,
keep a pulse on it.
yep.
Lido, a while ago, I'm not exactly sure how the point system will work. I would say probably for most people, the best thing to do as it comes to WFP this year is like take it in chunks. Like right now, there's a qualifier going on. We're going to get some athletes to Indianapolis. When that event is coming up in Indianapolis, the point system will make more sense. But basically, if you win that competition, you can get 500 points. If you get last place in the pro division, you get 270. If you get first place in the challenger, it's 250. And if you get last place, it's 155. So the total range of points from the best placing male to the worst placing male, 50 places, 500 points, 155. And those points start to stack on top of each other. You'll have the same exact structure in Mesa, and then you'll have double the points and more. You'll have more points available at Copenhagen. But ultimately, what all the athletes are chasing is to be in the top 20 of points earners, because that's how you get the pro card for next year. So that's a very simple version of it. Will we see Bella again? Bella's got a full-time job at CrossFit Mayhem now. She's pretty much never available during the day in the United States. I think it's an amazing environment for her there, and always open to and loving to have Bella on. But I think schedule-wise, it's pretty difficult for her, especially with Patrick still being in Europe. So if Patrick comes back to the States and we do shows in the evening, maybe.
Yeah, if I come back. And Bella's got a man now too, so she's busy. Her nights are probably taken.
Serious man too. That guy's no joke.
Yeah. for her to actually post about, I mean, literally we were throwing her business out there. For her to actually start posting about him, that's serious. So that's good for her. We're happy for her. He's a good guy. I've heard good things about him. And like I said, the community there is awesome. We love Bella. Yeah, we at one point we talked about how her having her own show, but she just has too many things going on. But it's you know, it's good to see that she's having things going on, that she's busy and she's not doing the traveling. Because before she was traveling so much, but now she's busy in one place, so she can finally plant some roots. She's with the community that she involves, and she's still doing stuff with CrossFit. She did I think, two of the live announcements.
I think 2 and
And
3, yeah.
yeah, 2 and 3, and yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. She'll obviously play a big part at Mayhem Classic.
Well, signed athletes need to do all 3 competitions if not injured. Yes. So it's like a double-edged thing. They get entry into those events, and per their contract, they need to show up and compete. So,
And that's why you want that pro card, also, because you're guaranteed that contract, but also part of that contract is travel built in there too. So it's just like, so they're not really losing much money in traveling to all 3 of these events. So that's why I think it's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, it's a really great opportunity. Maybe one of these days, I think they should at some point, and I don't think it'll ever happen, where kind of like in the professional sports, where they disclose like payments, like you can kind of see, because if I'm an athlete for next year, I'd like to know how much I'm going to make if I'm potentially going to go for it. Like, is my contract going to be a minimum $50,000, or can it be, I mean, obviously it's all based on negotiations, but it'd be kind of nice to know that, or kind of like
yeah.
they have structures for salaries. Like, hey, for baseball, it's like, hey, you start out the rookie scale, and then year 2 you get a bump. So if you keep your pro card after 2 years, you get a little bit of a bump. If you keep it for 3 years, bump. I
Well,
wonder if
we've talked about this in the past, and compared it to other sports where the contracts are known
yeah,
and the earnings are more known. I think it would be a cool thing to track this year. I'm kind of hoping that Halpin does it, of just like that thing that we talked about at the start of the year, of how the earnings are distributed across a group of athletes throughout the entire competitive season.
yeah,
Um, I mean, like when I watch, some people hate it. When I watch disc golf, like one of the stats that they show up there is career earnings,
hmm,
because 10 years ago, the PDGA created a system where that's easy to track. And so the
yeah,
stats guys don't have to go and pull from a million different places to try to find that.
yeah. That's a big deal. And it's same thing in golf. You have your money earners, and it's in every major sport has that, where it's known. Hell, you said disc golf. It's so funny because last night I made a disc golf reference, and then I went into my WWE reference, and I think it was CJ that made a comment about something about like disc golf and wrestling references in the same show. But like even wrestlers, professional wrestlers, which is a scripted event, their salaries are known, and they're contractors. I mean, most athletes are contracts, or all athletes are contractors. Uh, but no, I think that's very important. I just don't know if agents will be comfortable disclosing that, or athletes. But I think if you're trying to compare yourself to other professional sports, and you're also comparing yourself to like something like tennis when it comes to season structure, or golf, then yeah, it should be up there. The money earner should be up there. What you can keep, I mean, what you should probably keep secret, or not disclosing, is your sponsorships, which I think every sport does that.
Oh,
They
that's
keep,
yeah. I mean, that's different.
yeah,
And that actually was like, well, in disc golf, when Paul Macbeth he got a $10 million 10-year contract from Discraft, and Discraft is a disc manufacturing company. That's a sponsor, and that contract was known, and that
yeah,
contract completely revolutionized the earning potential for disc golfers. So sometimes one person being willing to have that out there, or one company putting that out there, can actually expedite the process of
yeah.
creating more meaningful earning opportunities for their peers. So,
I agree. I agree. I just don't think our sport's going to get to that point yet. I mean, like we all heard kind of the rumors about like some of the Noble contracts. You know, what would
sure.
have hurt to throw a contract out there saying, ex athlete, if I'm Noble, I would have make that. I would be proud of making that announcement. It's like, hey, we signed this athlete to the biggest contract, blah, blah, blah. And, he or she's going to revolutionize the sport. You know what that does? That makes Reebok or those other people assigned athletes saying, oh, shoot, they're giving that much money. we need to up our game. It might not necessarily mean, giving their athletes pay raises, but it brings more awareness. If they realize that the CrossFit athletes are making $1 million off a shoe deal, other companies, other brands are going to take notice. And they're gonna be like, why is that athlete making $1 million? Oh, it's because there is money making opportunities.
Right. So it can, can help to build that in. Yeah, I think, and I mean, this part of like the sponsorships is going to become an interesting thing to see, because in the years past, you've seen companies make big plays for athletes, and then those athletes don't make the CrossFit Games because they had a bad semifinal, a bad judging call, one bad workout, they got sick, whatever it is, and then the company's like, "Fuck! Like, was that worth it to invest all that money in this athlete that didn't even get to be on the world stage wearing our stuff?" Whereas now you see in the WFP, per Lito's question, these athletes are guaranteed these three, maybe those that will expand to 4, 5, 6. Who knows how many touring stops over the course of 2, 3 years down the line if this thing continues to go. And it makes it a little bit more reliable potentially for those brands to say, yeah, I want to get this person on board because I know that they're competing on this kind of broadcast, this kind of engagement in these sectors of the world, whatever. And I'm hopeful. One thing that I'm hopeful of, we talked about like learning from things that have been frustrating in the past in our sport. I'm hopeful that the WFP releases the 2026 season schedule early, like August.
Oh,
That
yeah.
that would be really cool, because then that also allows for brands to have those kind of conversations. They're like, okay, if the athletes who do get the pro cards, we will know that if they accept that they're going to be competing at these X number of stops and these X number of continents in these markets over the course of the year, and that's a valuable piece of information for them to have.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. What I'm kind of wondering though is like, we've heard on record Will saying that, he would like to have, 2 more events next year or expand at least one more, whatever. Um, does that mean that, you know, that means the athletes have to do more events, or do they get to choose which events? Kind of like golf does. Like, you don't have
Great.
to go
That's
to
a
every,
great question. This is
yeah.
actually those things that I was alluding to earlier of the systems that were developed with the touring season, how they, one of the models that I had seen, this is like 5, 6 years ago, basically divided the season into 3-month segments. And it was like, you have to compete once per quarter, but there's a bunch of competition opportunities within that quarter. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of variables. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, look,
It,
even if you're thinking ahead to 2026, like Wadapalooza is going to be this weekend, a year from now.
mhm. It's
So that's
crazy.
it's been a huge draw for athletes for 13 years, and moving it 2 months later puts it in a pretty kind of curious part of the season with like the Open just ended, the WFP qualifiers coming up, Mayhem Classics in 2 weeks, WFP's in 6. You know, how is Wadapalooza gonna in March gonna fit into that ecosystem? And we were curious about that with SoCal because they made that announcement 14 months ahead of time, and the market basically adjusted to that. I'm curious
Yeah.
to see if WFP or CrossFit Games or others that are at this time of year will adjust to account for the fact that Wadapalooza has made that 2-month shift.
This was bound to happen. We've talked about this for a couple of years now, where these competitions were kind of held hostage by the CrossFit Games season. Because they would always wait till two months before or whatever. And even though we had an idea, but it's like just put it out. Just put it out. And I know some of it had to deal with like, oh, we don't know if we have a venue yet for the CrossFit Games, but I think what Wadapalooza did, they had every right to do, and they should have done that. Why be they're a company that they are still a company that needs to make money. When you have an opportunity like they have, where the mayor of Miami is basically putting together a revolutionary idea where he's making 3 weeks of fitness with a Ironman, with High Rocks and CrossFit and consecutive weekends. I know I got that order mixed up, or it's a marathon, Miami Marathon, or whatever. And that you know you gotta take it. You gotta take that, especially if they're funding some of that.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, they're getting close to $1 million, of taxpayers' money to throw an event on the beach. It saves them so much money, and they just can't. What can CrossFit do to counter that? They won't do anything. They have to do what's best for themselves. They made a move. I know there are some people out there like, oh my God, they're doing this because they don't like CrossFit. No, it has nothing to do with that. They have a business to run, and they had an opportunity that you would be dumb not to take it. And we know the people at Loud and Live, they are not dumb. They are very smart people, and they are running a business and they're doing stuff. And I think, you know, maybe you won't. I don't know, but who knows? Maybe some of the High Rocks crowd will come over and participate or whatever. I mean, just yeah. But looking ahead of next year, yeah, it's going to be crazy because Rogue's another one that kind of put out their. I mean, they put that out 9 months in advance, essentially.
Who is that?
Rogue Invitational. They put out
Oh
their
yeah,
date
yeah,
like
yeah.
10 months in advance. I mean, I don't know if any of that had to do with Spin and his detective work, but I do want to say shout out to Spin. Thank you for putting that post up. I was able to book a hotel for $50 a night. And then the day that Rogue posted it, that hotel went up to $300 a night. So thank you, Spin, for saving me that much money. But yeah, just crazy. It's just, yeah, the 2026 season, I don't know. But what we're going to see is WFP, the games, Rogue, Wadapalooza, and then any other competition. They're just, there's going to be some crossover, or there's going to be something, and that's just how it is. But as fans of the sport, guess what? We get to enjoy it.
Well, it's also this thing, this is something that I was thinking about the other day. Do you remember the origins of the affiliate model when it comes to CrossFit gyms? Like, what was the concept there? The best will rise to the top.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like it that someone open a gym down the street from you? Then be better than them.
Yep.
And why does that mentality not apply to competition?
Yeah.
You cannot show me a person that's not intimately involved in the CrossFit Games team that hasn't vocalized frustrations about the way that they run their sport over and over and over and over again for a long time. There's obviously good things about it. There's obviously frustrating things about it. And there's other people now, all those entities that you named, and now also WFP, that are trying to improve and trying to do the best that they can. And we'll see how it goes. At the end of the day, for one thing or another, people will rise, the best will rise to the top, just like it happened in the affiliate mile. It's the mindset of CrossFit, actually. It's the games was built upon this concept. What did Dave and Greg say? You think you have a better training methodology than us? Come to the ranch and prove it. Do whatever you want for 12 months and come here and compete against our best athletes.
And no one took them up.
Why can that not apply to a competitive landscape as well, a competition landscape as well? It absolutely should. And if CrossFit, whatever that means, doesn't like it, be better, just like you would tell your affiliates to do.
Jenny at Dense Updates, they don't understand their community. I'm talking about, I believe, Loud and Live and Wadapalooza. Their registration was down this year, and now being spring break in Miami is not appealing. Also, the week after the Open, I see registration going down again. I mean, yeah, who knows? I mean, it might not. I don't. I know. Yeah, I really don't know. But who knows? I mean, maybe the games adjusts their model.
Well, and this is the week after the Open this year. We have no idea what the Open dates are going to be next year, or what even that competitive season will look like. And we probably won't know until pretty close to it. CrossFit has the ability now to react to that or not, because that's already out there.
Yeah, and we the games registration go down, so maybe they do something different. I don't know. Maybe they'll see, like you said, maybe they react to it and they change the Open dates or something. I don't know. I mean, either way, people are going to have to make a decision. Their money will talk. Their money and eyes will talk.
HCR CBD on the same page as us.
That's. But no, you bring up a good point, Jenny, and HCR. I mean, these are all great conversation pieces, and we just don't really know. But at the end of the day, I know I harp on this. If you're a fan of the sport, there's no better time to be a fan of the sport, because of so many things out there, and you get to pick and choose. Just like what I was saying about media. If you prefer one source of media over another, I mean, the CrossFit media might have died, but the media covering CrossFit has only grown. Like that? You like that? I know, clip that. Hell yeah. I just came up with that. I need to write that down. But anyways. All right. Well, it's only fair that HCR CBD gets the last word. Them being, again, our sponsor. They've been with us since day one. Giving you guys an update is 64-31. Jenny, you are beating me. You're Houston. God, what is Houston? They're not God, what are Houston? But anyway, they're not Cougars too, are they? But anyway, Houston's beating my SIU Edwardsville. Dense Updates is beating me once again, 66-31. But HERCBD, thank you so much again for being with us from just about day one, and we appreciate everything. The Rockets, no, that's an NBA team. We talking basketball. We're talking college, Houston Cougar. I think it's Cougars. Anyways, but thank you HRCBD for all your support. Thank you everyone that came in, everyone that left a comment this weekend. Do you have that upside down?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that is.
No, I don't.
No, you don't. No, it's different. Yeah. But all your CBD needs, obviously you've seen the relieve stick, you've seen the relieve ointment there. It's the best in the game. There's none. I mean, you've heard everyone from Taylor Self to even now John Young talking about its effects and how it's helped them recover. But Brian was the first one, and he's more than happy with that. But anyways, yeah. But thanks for everyone in the comments. Thanks for all the engaging comments today. And yeah, we have an exciting weekend, exciting season coming ahead. We'll be here the whole time, documenting it, talking about it, and looking forward to you guys commenting and sharing your thoughts on it as well. So that being said, everyone have a great weekend and be friendly, our friends.